Today is Saturday, August 1st. Welcome to Big Book Daily. My name is Rob. I am an alcoholic. It is a thrill, honor, and joy to be here with you today as we journey through the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12 Steps and 12 Traditions. Today out of the Big Book, we are on There's a Solution. We will be reading page 21. Out of the 12 and 12, we just began step 4 yesterday. We will be reading page 43. And of course, read NA's just for today and Al-Anon's Courage to Change. So with that, hope y'all are doing well this beautiful Saturday morning, my friends. It is August 1st already. It's hard to believe, but it's back to work for me. It's been that way for about 2 weeks, honestly. but you know, it's crazy to think that summer's winding down, and I'm already starting to see Halloween decorations in the stores, and I love that. I love spooky stuff, so I'm already getting excited because our wedding anniversary, it brings hockey season, change of colors, but you know what? It's just August 1st. So I have to remind myself, hey, one day at a time, pal. So with that, let's go ahead and get to the good stuff. All right, my friends. So if you recall from yesterday's reading out of There's a Solution, we've been talking about a couple of different types of drinkers. And we talked about on page 20, all the things that people have probably said to us, like, why don't you drink like a gentleman, or quid? The fellow can't handle his liquor. Or why don't you try beer and wine? You know, all these things. And then we talked about moderate drinkers and hard drinkers. But today we're talking about the real alcoholic according to the text. So we're on page 21. But what about the real alcoholic? He may start off as a moderate drinker. He may or may not become a continuous hard drinker. But at some stage of his drinking career, he begins to lose all control of his liquor consumption once he starts to drink. Here's the fellow who has been puzzling you, especially in his lack of control. He does absurd, incredible, tragic things while drinking. He is a real Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He is seldom mildly intoxicated. He's always more or less insanely drunk. His disposition while drinking resembles his normal nature but little. He may be one of the finest fellows in the world, yet let him drink for a day and he frequently becomes disgustingly and even dangerously antisocial. He has a positive genius for getting tight at exactly the wrong moment, particularly when some important decision must be made or engagement kept. He's often perfectly sensible and well-balanced concerning everything except liquor. But in that respect, he is incredibly dishonest and selfish. He often possesses special abilities, skills, and aptitudes, and has a promising career ahead of him. He uses his gifts to build up a bright outlook for his family and himself, and then pulls the structure down on his head by a senseless series of sprees. He's the fellow who goes to bed so intoxicated he ought to sleep the clock around. Yet early the next morning, he searches madly for the bottle he misplaced the night before. If he can afford it, he may have liquor concealed all over his house to be certain that no one gets his entire supply away from him to throw down the wastepipe. As matters grow worse, he begins to use a combination of high-powered sedative and liquor to quiet his nerves so that he can go to work. Then comes the day when he simply cannot make it and gets drunk all over again. Perhaps he goes to a doctor who gives him morphine or some sedative to taper off. Then he begins to appear at hospitals and sanitariums. Out of the 12 and 12, we're on step 4. Made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And yesterday we talked about the instincts, which by themselves are fine. That's what makes us human, right? But when the instincts go to the extreme, whether it's the sex relation, the material or emotional security or companionship, when it goes to the extreme, that's when problems arise. So we're going to build on that and expand on that on page 43. We want to find exactly how, when, and where our natural desires have warped us. We wish to look squarely at the unhappiness this has caused others and ourselves. By discovering what our emotional deformities are, we can move toward their correction. Without a willing and persistent effort to do this, there can be little sobriety or contentment for us. Without a searching and fearless moral inventory, most of us found that faith which really works in daily living is still out of reach. Before tackling the inventory problem in detail, let's have a closer look at the basic problem. Simple examples like the following take on a world of meaning when we think about them. Suppose a person places sex desire ahead of everything else. In such a case, this imperious urge can destroy his chances for material and emotional security, as well as his standing in the community. Another may develop such an obsession for financial security that he wants to do nothing but hoard money. Going to the extreme, he can become a miser, or even a recluse who denies himself both family and friends. Nor is the quest for security always expressed in terms of money. How frequently we see a frightened human being determined to depend completely upon a stronger person for guidance and protection. This weak one, failing to meet life's responsibilities with his own resources, never grows up. Disillusionment and helplessness are his lot. In time, all his protectors either flee or die, and he is once more left alone and afraid. We've also seen men and women who go power mad, who devote themselves to attempting to rule their fellows. These people often throw to the wind every chance for legitimate security and a happy family life. Whenever a human being becomes a battleground for the instincts, there can be no peace. NA just for today, August 1st. Freedom from guilt. Our addiction enslaved us. We were prisoners of our own mind and were condemned by our own guilt. Basic text, page 7. Guilt is one of the most commonly encountered stumbling blocks in recovery. One of the more notorious forms of guilt is self-loathing that results when we try to forgive ourselves but don't feel forgiven. How can we forgive ourselves so that we feel it? First, we remember that guilt and failure are not links in an unbreakable chain. Honestly sharing with a sponsor and with other addicts shows this to be true. Often the result of such sharing is a more sensible awareness of the part that we ourselves have played in our affairs. Sometimes we realize that our expectations have been too high. We increase our willingness to participate in the solutions rather than dwelling on the problems. Somewhere along the way, we discover who we really are. We usually find that we are neither the totally perfect nor the totally imperfect being that we imagine ourselves to be. We need not live up to or down to our illusions. We need only live in reality. Just for today, I am grateful for my assets and accept my liabilities. Through willingness and humility, I am freed to progress in my recovery and achieve freedom from guilt. Al-Anon's Courage to Change, August 1st. I came to Al-Anon to discover how to get a loved one to stop drinking, hoping that my life would then return to normal. In Al-Anon, I came to understand that I did not cause alcoholism. I can't control it, and I can't cure it. But I can apply the 12 steps to my own life so that I find sanity and contentment, whether the alcoholic is still drinking or not. This is why in Al-Anon, the focus must be on me. I soon discovered that I had problems of my own that needed attention. I had undergone some unhealthy changes as I attempted to cope with the disease of alcoholism. These changes had occurred so slowly and subtly that I hadn't been aware of them. I shared openly about this in Al-Anon meetings and became willing to let go of attitudes that no longer seemed appropriate. With the help of my higher power, I began to shed self-destructive habits. In time, I felt that I had regained my true self. I began to grow again. Today's reminder: I do not respond well when someone tries to impose their will on me Why have I tried to impose my will on those around me? There's only one person that I am responsible for, and that is me. There's only one person who can make my life as full as possible. That too is me. Today, I will keep my hands off and keep my focus where it belongs, on me. Quote from In All Our Affairs. All right, my friends, that concludes today's reading. And man, do I love, every reading today for sure, but I love the breakdown in the big book of a potential alcoholic or the real alcoholic, right? And it says a little bit after what we just read today that, hey, this is not a complete one-size-fits-all breakdown. This is just one example. But I see similarities in the example that was shared today. If anyone else is like me, what I would do is I would wake up hungover, panicking, wondering what I did or said while I was drinking in a blackout. Make a firm resolution that I am not going to drink today. I'm done. This is the day that I quit. And then the mental obsession would kick in. And I go, well, gosh, I hate all this guilt I feel. You know what might make this feel better? Is a drink. Just one, Rob. Just one. If you have one, it's not a big deal. But see, I never could stop at one, right? I'd have that first drink and then go, all right, let's get started. And that would kickstart for me the physical allergy. And I didn't know these things. I learned this after the fact, but that was me, right? And then thus would start that whole cycle of insanity again and again. And it would just get worse and worse and worse until my life truly was unmanageable. But I don't know if I always started that way. I think there were some glimpses of some normal drinking in my late teens and early 20s, although sometimes I drank alcoholically then too, but it progressed over time. And by my late 20s and 30s, it was really unmanageable. And buddy, I just kept holding on thinking I could beat it on my own. And clearly I couldn't. But also real quick, gosh, I love the NA reading today. Talking about guilt and shame, right? I always heard somebody break down the difference between guilt and shame, and I didn't really know there was a difference at the time. And a friend of mine would say, Rob, guilt's like saying, I did a bad thing. Shame is saying, I am a bad person. So guilt can kind of lead to repentance, where shame kind of keeps you stuck. And I never really thought of that breakdown before. So guilt can actually be a good thing. It can be a catalyst to try to change, right? So I love the reading here where it says, how can we forgive ourselves so that we feel it? I love this breakdown. It's so practical. So they're going to explain, because this is me. A lot of times I would think, okay, I know my higher power's forgiven me. I know deep down I'm forgiven, but why don't I feel it? Why don't I feel free? I still feel like I'm stuck. All right. Here's the first thing we can do. First, we remember that guilt and failure are not links in an unbreakable chain. In other words, it doesn't always have to be there. So here's the first thing we can do. Honestly sharing with a sponsor and with other addicts shows this to be true. So shedding light on whatever it is we're feeling guilty about instead of isolating, right? Being honest. Often the result of such sharing is a more sensible awareness of the part that we ourselves have played. So that what I get from that is focus on my part. Okay, be honest about what happened. Focus on my part in the situation, because I've always got a part in it somehow. Sometimes we realize that our expectations have been too high of ourselves. And by doing this, we learn about our expectations of ourselves and maybe of others. And then finally, focus on the solution. What can I do today to make sure that doesn't happen again? Those indirect amends, right? Or in times where I need to make direct amends. Again, to recap, remember that guilt doesn't have to stay forever. It is not a link in an unbreakable chain. Honestly share with my sponsor and other addicts. So shed some light on the situation. Focus on my part and focus on the solution instead of the problem. And then the next paragraph says, somewhere along the way, we discover who we really are. We usually find that we are neither totally perfect nor the totally imperfect beings that we imagine ourselves to be. And that reminds me of what I've been told so many times. Rob, you're no better or worse than anybody else. You are a human being. I love this. What a great reading today. And I guess I needed to be reminded of it. We need not live up to or down to our illusions. We need only to live in reality. And the reality is that I am free and I am sober and clean today, August 1st, 2026. And I want to live the best way I can live according to these 12 steps. Today, I am not who I was before, but I am so excited to grow into the person I believe that I was meant to be. But it all starts with doing the next right thing one day at a time. Focusing on this set of 24 hours. I love it. Wow, I needed to hear this. So that, my friends, that's all we have time for today. I hope you all have a great one. Please know, as always, I don't speak on behalf of AA, NA, Al-Anon, any other sect, denomination. I'm just a joyful drunk. Honored to be here another day. And thank you so much for all the emails I receive, the daily check-ins. That cheers me up every day. Thank you so much for reminding me that we're in this together. That the first the first word in all the steps is we. Beautiful stuff. But my friends, if we're given another set of 24 hours, I sincerely look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow.